When my son left the restaurant that day, the security guard ran up to me and said, "Mom, I just saw your son pour something into your juice." My hands froze around the glass. For a second, I thought I misheard him. My son, my own flesh and blood, the same boy I raised, protected, and loved through every hardship. What kind of mother has to question whether her own child just tried to harm her? Tell me honestly, if you were in my place, what would you have done? I can still remember how everything started. Long before that afternoon, before the betrayal, before my heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. I'm a 48-year-old single mother, and for most of my life, my world revolved around my son Ethan. His father left when he was 8, walking out one rainy night and never coming back. From that day, I promised myself I would never let Ethan feel abandoned again. I worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3, to keep him in a decent school and to make sure he never felt the kind of pain I did. He was a bright, sweet boy. Quiet, shy, always hugging me goodnight. But over the years something changed. It started after he turned 18. He began hanging out with people I didn't recognize. Older men with expensive cars and empty eyes. He'd come home late, smelling like smoke and cheap cologne. His grades dropped, his temper got shorter, and that sweet smile that used to melt my heart was replaced with a cold smirk. I tried talking to him, I really did. Every time I'd ask what was wrong, he'd snap, "Stop controlling me, Mom! I'm not a kid anymore." Then he'd slam the door, leaving me standing there with tears in my eyes. I blamed myself. Maybe I worked too much, maybe I wasn't there enough. I thought he just needed space. I didn't realize how dark that space had become. One night, I was cleaning his room while he was out, and I found a small bag of white powder hidden inside one of his shoes. My stomach dropped. I knew what it was, even though I didn't want to believe it. Drugs. My boy, my Ethan, was using. When he came home, I confronted him immediately. He denied it, of course. Screamed, cursed, called me names I never thought I'd hear from his mouth. He told me it wasn't mine to touch, that I was snooping like some controlling freak. I was shaking, terrified, begging him to let me help. But he stormed out and didn't come home for 3 days. I stayed awake every night, praying he was safe. When he finally came back, he looked pale, hollow-eyed, but I didn't scold him. I just hugged him and told him I loved him. I thought love would be enough. I was wrong. Months passed, and I began noticing money missing from my purse. Small amounts at first, 20 here, 40 there, then larger sums. I wanted to believe I was just forgetful, but deep down I knew. I confronted him again, and this time he didn't deny it. He just looked at me with this empty expression and said, "You owe me, Mom. You owe me for all those years Dad wasn't around." That line broke something inside me. Owe him. For raising him alone. For giving up everything to make sure he had a roof over his head. But I stayed silent. I couldn't fight my own son. The tension between us grew unbearable. He'd disappear for days, then show up acting overly sweet, like he was trying to manipulate me. "Hey Mom, let's grab lunch together." "My treat," he'd say, flashing that fake grin. I wanted so badly to believe he was trying to mend things. So, when he invited me out to a nice restaurant one Saturday afternoon, I said yes. Maybe this was the start of something new. Maybe he finally realized how much I loved him. He was unusually calm that day, almost too calm. He kept complimenting me, asking about my work, even laughing at my stories like he used to when he was little. I felt hope blooming again. I remember thinking, this is my boy, he's coming back to me. The waiter came and Ethan insisted on ordering everything. Appetizers, the main course, even a fancy fruit juice for me. He kept saying, "You deserve it, Mom. You've done enough for me." It almost brought me to tears. But then, after we finished eating, he got a phone call. He looked tense and said he needed to step outside for a minute. He told me to stay and finish my drink. I nodded and smiled, feeling proud that he at least thought of taking me out. That's when the security guard approached. "Mom," he said quietly, leaning toward me. "I don't want to alarm you, but I saw your son pour something into your drink when you went to the restroom earlier." My heart stopped. I felt the air leave my lungs. "What do you mean?" I whispered, trembling. He looked around, then said, "I don't know what it was, but he looked around before doing it. I checked the cameras to be sure. I just sat there frozen, staring at my half-empty glass of orange juice. My mind was screaming no. Not Ethan. Not my son. He offered to show me the footage, and my hands were shaking as we walked to the back room. The screen flickered to life, showing me sitting down, then leaving for the restroom. Seconds later, Ethan took out a small vial from his pocket, looked around nervously, and poured a clear liquid into my glass. I almost collapsed. The guard caught me as I stumbled backward. I felt sick, betrayed, terrified. What had he just tried to do to me? Before I could even process it, Ethan returned to the table. I walked back out, pretending nothing was wrong, my heart pounding so loud I thought he'd hear it. I didn't touch the glass. "Everything okay, Mom?" he asked, smiling. I nodded and forced a smile. Inside, I was screaming. I wanted to confront him right there, but something told me to wait. I needed to know why. So that's the situation I was in. Sitting across from my son, pretending everything was fine, while the glass of juice between us felt like a bomb. And I had to make a choice: should I expose him right there, or wait and find out what pushed him to this point? Before I tell you what I did next, I want you to pause for a second and tell me in the comments. What would you have done if your own child betrayed you like that? Would you call the police, confront them, or stay silent and dig deeper? I decided to play along. When the bill came, I excused myself, saying I needed the restroom again. I took the untouched juice with me and quietly asked the manager to keep it safe for testing. Then, I called a friend of mine who works at a hospital lab. She agreed to run a toxicology test on it discreetly. I returned to the table smiling, acting normal. "Ready to go?" Ethan asked. "Yeah," I said softly. "Thanks for lunch, sweetheart." I hugged him, and in that hug I realized he had no idea I knew. That night, I couldn't sleep. My hands kept shaking. Every memory of Ethan as a child flashed through my mind. His first steps, his laughter, how he used to run into my arms after school. How could the same boy now be capable of poisoning his own mother? The next day, my friend called me. Her voice was trembling. "It tested positive," she said. "There was a high concentration of sedatives mixed with something else. Something dangerous." I nearly dropped the phone. It wasn't just a prank. It was real. He meant to hurt me, maybe even kill me. I didn't call the police right away. I needed to know why. I went through his room again, searching for answers. That's when I found a note tucked inside his drawer. It was a letter. Not to me, but to someone named Liam. In it, Ethan wrote about how he couldn't take it anymore, how he needed to finish the job or they'd come for him next. My blood ran cold. It wasn't random. Someone was manipulating him. I traced the name Liam through his social media and found pictures. Ethan, smiling with a group of guys who looked like gang members. Expensive watches, cars, stacks of money. My son was trapped in something far darker than I'd imagined. I finally realized they must have forced him to do it. They were using him, maybe threatening him, to get money out of me, or worse. But something inside me snapped that day. I wasn't just a mother anymore. I became someone willing to fight back. I called the police anonymously and tipped them about the gang, the drugs, the extortion. But I didn't stop there. I set up a meeting with Ethan, pretending I wanted to talk about his future. When he arrived, he looked nervous. I poured 2 glasses of juice, mine untouched. "Ethan," I said softly, "I know what you did at the restaurant." His face went pale. What are you talking about?" he stammered. I slid a flash drive across the table, the security footage. His hands trembled. "Why, Ethan? Why would you hurt me?" He broke down. Tears filled his eyes. "I didn't have a choice, Mom. They told me if I didn't do it, they'd kill me. They made me take money from you. Made me do things I didn't want to do." He covered his face, sobbing. "I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't mean to. I wanted to believe him. But I'd already learned the hard way that love can blind you." I called the police from my phone while he was still crying. They arrived within minutes. Ethan screamed as they took him away, begging me not to let them arrest him. "Please, Mom, please!" he cried. I couldn't even look at him. My heart was shattered, but I knew if I didn't stop it now, he'd either destroy me or himself. The police later told me that Ethan's so-called friends were part of a small crime ring. They used young people to target their own families, blackmailing them into financial scams and theft. They promised Ethan money, protection, even status. When he tried to back out, they threatened him. They gave him the vial and told him it was just a sedative to scare me into giving them access to my bank account. He had no idea how deadly it actually was. Ethan was sentenced to rehabilitation and juvenile correction. I visited him once, a few months later. He looked clean, sober, but empty. He wouldn't look at me at first. Then he whispered, "I didn't mean it, Mom. I just wanted them to stop." I nodded, tears streaming down my face. "I know," I said. "But you have to live with what you did. We both do. It's been a year now. I still wake up at night, hearing his voice in my dreams. I still see that glass of juice sometimes in my mind. That moment when everything I thought I knew about motherhood, trust, and love shattered completely. I don't know if I'll ever forgive him fully, but I also know he's still my son. And maybe one day, when he's truly healed, we'll sit down again. This time, without fear between us. If you were me, would you have turned him in? Would you have chosen justice over family? Like this video if you were on my side. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. And please, tell me in the comments. Do you think forgiveness is possible after something like that? I'll see you all in the next story.